And welcome back to another UNC Tar Heels football recruiting podcast here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you are watching us on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I am THI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is our director of football recruiting, Miss Deana King. And Deana, it's always a big day when there's a commitment, especially for a class of 22 football recruiting group that's going to be rather small for North Carolina this year. So Mac Brown and his staff, Phil Longo, Larry Porter, they got themselves one of the running backs they have been targeting for quite some time. He was at the top of the list, maybe with very limited company, but he was up there. Omarion Hampton, a four-star running back from Cleveland High School in Clayton, North Carolina, 6 feet, 220 pounds, the number 132 overall prospect nationally in the class of 2022, number 9 in his position, and he is the number 4 overall prospect in North Carolina. He had other offers, including from schools like Michigan, Miami, Ohio State, Auburn, LSU, Florida. In other words, pretty much everybody wanted Omarion Hampton, but Mac Brown in North Carolina got him.
He's had a busy June. He's been to Auburn, Florida, Penn State. It's just been a busy time, and that's not including the countless times that he stopped at Chapel Hill, sometimes even after visits to other schools. Clearly the writing was on the wall. It's clearly a kid that the fan base kind of has followed like hawks. Omarion Hampton, I've been really high on him ever since he came on the scene at Cleveland. A really good running back. He's kind of a little different than what Carolina had in Javonte and Michael. He's a power runner. If I was to compare him a little bit like a Todd Gurley, maybe not with the speed that Todd Gurley, because Todd was a track guy too. So a lot of his ability was, acceleration and everything. But one thing about Omarion, he's coming off an injury. He was off to a great junior year. I mean, a really great junior year. And he suffered a lower leg injury, and it knocked him out of the rest of the season. And of course, Cleveland went all the way to the state championship game, and they got beat by Mount Tabor in the state championship game. But he's 100%. He's recovered. He's ready to have another big time season his senior year and help lead Cleveland to a possible state championship.
You have been on this for a while. You've been telling me since it was still cold at night that this was probably going to happen. You honestly, we've talked at times about, hey, when should we prepare an Omarion Hampton commitment podcast, that kind of thing. When did you kind of get the sense, okay, I think this kid's absolutely going to UNC? And have you ever wavered at all? He's gone to some other places to check things out, which, by the way, Mac Brown encourages with these kids. Have you wavered at all, or have you just been locked in since maybe March that this was probably going to happen?
Well, he's been to Carolina so many times, and I think I kind of started feeling like Carolina was going to be the choice, because during the practice sessions, that when Carolina had their spring practice and they had like a open, for the media, and, they left the doors open. It was not private practices. And Omarion showed up to 2 or 3 of those. And then he showed up at the spring game in the rain. And then he came back after he came up and spent, I don't know, probably when June 1st happened, he was there on campus like 2 or 3 times a week during that week. He went to Auburn on an official. He dropped back by Carolina. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, he's been to UNC several times, and it just, the old saying is, watch what they do and not what they say. And
Yeah.
that clearly was big on why I thought Omarion is and has always kind of wanted to be a Tar Heel. And it
Okay.
doesn't help that his school colors is Carolina blue too, and
Now,
they're the Rams, and they have Argyle on their uniforms, and they played the state championship in Keenan. That would have been kind of cool if
yeah.
Omarion was healthy and could have played in Keenan.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what he has said. What has he indicated that he likes so much about UNC, about the school, about that offense, about being a part of the program, about Mac, et cetera?
The proof is in what happened the last couple of years. Carolina's offense has had 2 kids drafted, in Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. So he knows that running back is a big part of their offense. And he may not, I mean, some kids like the fact that Carolina rotated their back. So there's, Carolina's running back room, they're going to lose Ty Chandler after this year, and who knows what will happen with the transfer portal. We have to bring that up. Some attrition there. Some kids might not feel discouraged about their playing time and move on. So, and I'm sure the coaching staff is saying, look, we want to we want to give you the carries, but we don't want to wire you out. And I think that's why Carter and Williams were so effective, because they got basically equal carries and plays and stuff. And now they're fresh. They're heading into NFL. They're not worn out. So, I mean, the staff, Coach Porter, has coached a lot of good running backs. And so I think the jail there, because I believe he was the first call that Porter made, was to Omarion Hampton, an in-state kid. And I think that's so important, because Mac wants to keep the in-state kids, and Omarion's got like a fan, the fan base really following him and really checking up and trying to, quote, recruit him on social media.
Everybody knows the football lifespan of a running back is pretty limited. So if you can save on the wear and tear when they're in college, that might add a year or two to their NFL career, which is a lot of money for anybody. And it could mean a significant amount of money if you're a pretty good player. By the way, Mac also says that they'll go outside the footprint to get the great ones, but you're talking the number 132 overall player nationally in the class, number 9 in his position, like I said, number 4 in the state. So the great thing about the state of North Carolina is you can stay in state and get the great ones too, because there's so much talent in this state. You mentioned Todd Gurley. Anybody else you might compare him to that has been from this state, since so many great running backs have come from North Carolina?
Well, he's got a little Elijah Hood. I mean, Elijah, his build and everything. Elijah was, when he was at Charlotte Catholic, he had he would outrun kids and everything. There's a little bit of him. He's a power runner. He can run between the tackles. He's not like a TJ Logan that's going to get outside and turn on the speed burners and race 85 yards and stuff. But one fact I did want to bring up, when Omarion got hurt, Carolina didn't waver. I mean, this kid had a serious injury, and Carolina coaching staff, they've reached out to Omarion, and that's important. That's important to kid, because you see a lot of times kid might get hurt and the school kind of backs off, saying, we don't know, how is he going to come back from this and everything. But Carolina was right there, inquired about him, and I think that was a big plus in Matt Brown, showing the caring side of a kid, because we know it's happened in the past. Some of you old timers remember William Henderson, outstanding running back in Virginia, was one of the top recruits, and he got hurt. And a lot of schools backed off, and Carolina didn't, and they got William Henderson, and he went on and had a good career at Carolina, and then went to the NFL with the Packers and had a great career in the NFL. Yeah.
Got a ring, got a Super Bowl ring. Outstanding stuff. Omarion Hampton is the latest member of the class of 22 to pop for Mac Brown and the Tar Heels. This is a big time pickup. I think we've been trending in this direction for a long time. Like I said, hey, I would text you, hey, should we do an Omarion Hampton commitment podcast? We ready to do this? Are you ready to pop yet? But I'm glad he did due diligence. I think it's good that Mac encouraged these kids to check stuff out so they know for sure. He doesn't want decommitments. He doesn't want transfers. Wants to minimize that stuff as much as possible, even with a kid that they know deep down that he wanted to be a Tar Heel. She's Deana King. I am Andrew Jones. You have been watching UNC Tar Heels Football Recruiting Podcast right here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. Thanks for stopping by.